When my daughter called me mom for the last time, her voice didn't sound like hers anymore. It was colder, sharper, like the money had frozen something inside her. She said, "Mom, I think it's better if you don't stay here anymore. I'll send someone to help you move." I remember standing there in her big, shiny kitchen, marble floors, golden lights, everything smelling like perfume and perfection, but my heart felt like it was breaking in slow motion. I didn't argue. I didn't ask why. I just smiled. Because mothers, we don't always fight back when our children hurt us. Sometimes we just quietly bleed and pray they'll realize it one day. When I left her mansion that day, I carried only one small bag, a few clothes, an old photograph, and a little recipe book she'd written in when she was a child. Mom's pancakes. The secret ingredient is love. I still remember her handwriting, round, messy, but full of warmth. Now, that same child had become a millionaire, a famous name, a success story. People on TV called her inspiring. They never saw the woman behind her story, the mother she erased to make her life look perfect. That night, when I reached my small rented room, I sat on the bed and stared at my phone. No messages, no calls, just silence. I thought about calling her, maybe just to say I reached home safely. But I didn't, because somewhere deep inside, I knew the person who once called me Mom wouldn't answer. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. Her photos flooded social media, her smiling at award shows, traveling, posing beside celebrities. And every time I saw her face, I felt both proud and invisible. She was living her dream, but I was no longer part of it. Still, every night before sleeping, I whispered a little prayer for her. Keep her safe, God, and if she ever needs me, help her find her way back. I never imagined that prayer would be answered in the most unexpected way, through a trembling phone call 3 days after her world fell apart. Her voice that day, it wasn't proud anymore. It wasn't cold. It was broken. "Mom, please, I need you." And that was the moment everything changed. Not just for her, but for both of us. Because sometimes life has a strange way of teaching lessons, not through anger, but through silence, loss, and the realization of who truly stands beside you when the world turns away. I wasn't born into wealth. My life was simple: a small home, a quiet street, and dreams that fit inside a little teacup. When my husband passed away, our daughter, Aisha, was only 7. She didn't cry much in front of me. She tried to be strong, though her tiny hands trembled every time she picked up his photo frame. I remember kneeling beside her one night and whispering, "It's okay to cry, my love. Strong people cry too." She looked at me with those wide brown eyes and said, "Then you're the strongest, Mom, because I never see you cry." That night, after she fell asleep, I sat beside her bed and cried silently, not because of the pain, but because of the love she gave me. Life after my husband's death wasn't easy. I worked 2 jobs, mornings at a tailor shop, evenings as a school janitor. There were days I came home too tired to cook, but Aisha always waited for me, sitting near the stove with her little notebook, pretending to be my assistant. "Mom, can I stir the soup today?" she'd ask, standing on a stool with a wooden spoon. I used to tell her, "Of course, you're my best helper." And she'd smile like she'd just won a trophy. Those were the days when laughter lived inside our kitchen. The radio played old songs, and we danced between pots and pans. She'd talk about her dreams, how she wanted to be someone important. Not rich, not famous, just important. Years went by, and that dream started taking shape. She was brilliant in school, always curious, always reading. When she got a scholarship to a big city university, I felt two things at once: pride and fear. I was proud because she had earned it through pure hard work. And I was afraid because I knew the world she was going into was bigger, louder than the one I could understand. On the day she left, I packed her lunch myself, her favorite paratha rolls, and tucked a small note inside. "Don't forget where your heart belongs." She hugged me tightly at the bus stop. "Mom, when I make it big, you'll never have to work again," she promised. I laughed softly. "I don't need your money, Aisha. I just need your calls." She nodded, but in her eyes, I saw something new that day. A spark, a hunger to prove herself. I didn't know that spark would one day burn the bridge between us. In the beginning, she called every night. She'd tell me about her classes, her friends, the city lights she loves so much. She'd say, "Mom, everything feels alive here." Her voice was filled with wonder, like a child seeing fireworks for the first time. I'd listen quietly, smiling, even when her calls came late at night, because for me, every word from her was a heartbeat I didn't want to miss. But slowly, the calls became shorter, then less frequent, until one week passed with no message, then another. When I finally reached her, she said she was too busy. Her tone wasn't rude, just distant, like she was talking to a memory she couldn't quite place. A few years later, Aisha graduated. Her photo appeared on her university's website, smiling in her black gown, holding her certificate. I printed that photo and placed it beside her father's frame. "You'd be proud of her," I whispered to him. Then came the big news. She had started her own company, something about tech and marketing. I didn't fully understand what it was, but I understood her excitement. She said investors loved her ideas, and soon her business grew faster than I could imagine. Within 2 years, she was living in a world of luxury, cars, interviews, brand deals. And I was still in the same small rented home, proud of her, but scared of losing her to the world she once dreamed about. The first time I visited her new house, I felt out of place. Everything was perfect. White walls, silver vases, spotless floors. Even her smile seemed rehearsed, polished for photographs. "Mom, I've set up a room for you upstairs," she said, showing me a guest suite bigger than my entire home. I smiled and said, "You didn't have to, Pitta. I'm fine where I am." But she insisted, "No, Mom, you deserve comfort now." So I stayed for a few weeks. In those days, I saw glimpses of my old Aisha, the one who'd wake me up with tea, laugh at old songs, and ask me for my recipes. But I also saw her new life, the business meetings, the phone calls, the designer clothes. People called her Ma'am. She liked that. I started noticing little changes in how she looked at me. Not unkind, but uneasy, like she was trying to fit me into her new life, and I didn't quite match the decor. One night, during a dinner with her friends, I overheard someone ask, "Who's the lady staying upstairs? Your housekeeper?" The table went quiet. Aisha's face froze for a second, then she laughed it off. "Oh, that's just, family." Just family. Not my mother, not the woman who raised me alone. Just family. That night, when everyone left, she came to my room. "Mom, please don't take it the wrong way," she said softly. "These people, they don't understand simple life. I don't want them to judge you." I smiled gently. "You're ashamed of me? Her eyes filled with tears. No, Mom, it's not that. I just need to look strong. I nodded. I didn't argue. Because I understood that night, success had made her stronger, but it had also made her fragile. And fragile people hide behind walls. Weeks later, she got busier than ever. She left early, came home late, and barely spoke at dinner. I'd cook her favorite meals, hoping we could eat together, but most nights she ate out or not at all. One morning, her manager came to me and said politely, "Madame suggested it might be better if you stayed elsewhere for now. She's having guests for a few months." My heart sank. She didn't even tell me herself. That evening, I went downstairs and waited for her to come home. When she walked in, dressed in her perfect white suit, she looked surprised to see me waiting for her. "Mom, what's wrong?" I looked at her, my little girl who used to chase butterflies, now looking like a stranger with everything money could buy. "Nothing's wrong, Bitta. I just came to say thank you for letting me stay." She frowned. "What do you mean?" "I'll leave tomorrow. Don't worry, I'll manage." Her lips parted, maybe to stop me, but she said nothing, and I didn't wait. That night, I packed my things quietly. As I zipped the bag, my hand brushed against the old recipe book she once wrote in. I opened it, the pages yellowed, the ink faded, and there it was. Mom's pancakes. The secret ingredient is love. I smiled through my tears. She had forgotten that recipe long ago, but I hadn't. And when I closed that door behind me, I whispered, "Be happy, my child." Little did I know, happiness would soon slip from her hands, and life would bring her back to me, not as a millionaire, but as a daughter who finally remembered what truly mattered.
After I left Aisha's house, I moved into a small apartment on the edge of the city. A single room with a window that faced a noisy street and a small tea stall downstairs. It wasn't much, but it was enough. At my age, peace matters more than luxury. Every morning I'd make tea, sit by the window, and watch people rush to work, each one chasing something: money, success, approval. I smiled, remembering my daughter among them, running faster than anyone I'd ever known. I still called her sometimes. At first, she answered politely. "Hi, Mom, I'm in a meeting. Can I call later?" Then slowly, those calls turned into voice notes. Then silence. Days became months. The calendar changed seasons, but her absence felt the same. Heavy, quiet, endless. Once in a while, I'd catch her on television. Interviews, magazine covers, charity events. She looked radiant, confident, untouchable. Reporters called her the youngest self-made millionaire in the city. Every time I heard that phrase, my heart swelled with pride and then ached with emptiness. Because I knew the part they never told. The sleepless nights, the hand-me-down clothes, the mother who skipped meals so her daughter could study. But that's not a story the world finds glamorous. One afternoon, I went to the market to buy some vegetables. While waiting in line, I overheard two women talking. "Did you hear about that Aisha Malik? Her company just partnered with an international brand." "Oh, yes! She's amazing! I read her story. Raised herself without anyone's help." Without anyone's help. The words struck me harder than I expected. I felt a lump rise in my throat, but I said nothing. Because what could I say? That I was the invisible part of her success story? I just smiled faintly and walked home with my groceries, pretending their words didn't sting. That night, I couldn't sleep. The ceiling fan hummed softly above me, and my thoughts kept circling the same question. When did love become something to be hidden? I remembered her as a child, how she'd hold my hand crossing the street, how she'd fall asleep on my lap after homework. She used to say, "Mom, I'll never forget you." I believed her. And maybe that was my mistake, believing that love doesn't change when life does. A few months later, I got sick. It started with a cough that wouldn't go away, then weakness that made walking difficult. The doctor said I needed rest and good food, 2 things my small pension could barely afford. I thought about calling Aisha, but something inside me stopped me. I didn't want to sound like a burden. Instead, I managed with what little I had. Neighbors sometimes helped. A kind lady named Mrs. Khan would bring me soup and check on me. Her presence reminded me that kindness still existed, even when family didn't. One evening, she asked gently, "Do you have children, dear?" I nodded, smiling softly. "Yes, a daughter. She's busy with work." Mrs. Khan smiled back, not asking more. Maybe she saw the story behind my silence. Weeks later, a small envelope arrived in the mail. It was from Aisha's office. A formal letter. Inside, there was a card. "Thank you for being part of Aisha Malik's journey. We appreciate your support." No handwritten note. No mom. Just a printed message and a photo of her shaking hands with investors. I don't know why, but that little card broke me in a way her silence never did. It made me realize she hadn't just distanced herself emotionally, she had erased me completely. One rainy night, as I sat near the window, sipping tea, I saw her face again, this time on the evening news. She was at an award ceremony, holding a golden trophy. The reporter asked, "Who inspired you to reach this point?" She smiled, that perfect, camera-ready smile, and said, "I owe it all to my hard work and belief in myself." Not a word about her mother. Not even a hint. I turned off the TV and the room fell into silence. Rain tapped gently on the glass and I whispered to myself, "It's okay. She doesn't need to say it. I know." But that night, for the first time in years, I cried. Not loudly, not angrily.
Just quietly. Tears rolling down without sound, like rain that no one notices. Months passed again. Life returned to its slow rhythm. I found small ways to stay busy. Reading, teaching neighborhood kids to write letters, baking once a week. I even sent Aisha a birthday card. She didn't reply. Instead, I saw her birthday celebration online. A grand event with lights, friends, and laughter. I watched the clip once, then closed my phone.
It hurt, but I'd learned how to live with that kind of pain, the kind that becomes part of you. Then something strange began to happen. Rumors started spreading in the business world, whispers that her company was in trouble. At first, I didn't believe them. She was too smart, too determined. But then the headlines appeared. Malik Enterprises faces legal investigation. Aisha Malik's fortune at risk. I watched in disbelief as her perfect world began to crumble on television screens. Lawsuits, frozen accounts, and betrayal from people she once trusted. I wanted to reach out, but I stopped myself. Maybe she wouldn't want to hear from me. Maybe she needed to face it alone like she wanted to. One evening, I went for a walk in the park near my apartment. I saw a young mother playing with her little girl, laughing, chasing her across the grass. Something inside me broke again. I sat on a bench, closed my eyes and whispered, God, I don't want her to suffer. Please protect her, even if she's forgotten me. As I walked home, I passed a newspaper stand. There it was, her face again. But this time the headline read, Aisha Malik's $33 million empire collapses overnight. I stood there for a long moment, staring at her photo. Not the glamorous one this time, but a tired, tearful face caught by reporters outside her office. I went home and sat silently, my heart heavy with mixed emotions, worry, pain, and an old mother's love that never truly fades. That night, as I was preparing to sleep, my phone vibrated. An unknown number flashed on the screen. I hesitated, then answered. Hello? There was silence for a few seconds, just the sound of someone breathing softly. Then a broken whisper. Mom? My hands trembled. I hadn't heard that voice in so long. Ayesha? I asked, my voice shaking. Her words came out between sobs. Mom, I messed up. Everything's gone. I don't know what to do. I felt my eyes fill with tears. All the anger, the hurt, the years of silence, they vanished in that moment. Because when your child cries, the mother inside you wakes up instantly. It's okay, beta, I said softly. Just come home. She cried harder. I don't have anywhere else to go. Then come here, I whispered. You've always had a home and a mother waiting. When I hung up, I sat there in silence for a long time. The city outside was sleeping, but my heart was wide awake. I knew that the next morning would bring memories, pain, and maybe even healing. Because love, real love, doesn't disappear. It just waits quietly until it's needed again. As I looked at the clock, I thought of all the nights I prayed for her return. And now, after all these years, that prayer had finally been answered through a single trembling phone call in the middle of the night. I didn't know what awaited us next, but I knew one thing for sure. A mother's heart never stops forgiving.
When morning came, the city looked different. Maybe it was the same sky, the same street, the same sounds. But for me, everything felt alive again. My daughter was coming home. I spent that morning quietly cleaning the small apartment. It wasn't much, a single bed, a wooden chair, a tiny table near the window, but it was all I had to offer. I swept the floor twice, made her favorite lentil soup, and even placed a clean folded blanket near the bed. I wanted her to feel welcome. I wanted her to feel safe. It was around noon when I heard a soft knock on the door. I opened it slowly, and there she was,
My Aisha, but not the Aisha I remembered. Gone was the confident woman in high heels and designer suits. The person standing before me looked smaller, fragile. Her eyes were swollen, her hair tied loosely, her clothes wrinkled like she hadn't slept in days. For a moment, neither of us spoke. She just stood there, staring at me with trembling lips. Then she whispered, "Mom?" And I didn't wait for another word. I pulled her into my arms and held her tight, so tight that all the years between us seemed to disappear. She sobbed against my shoulder like a child. I felt her body shake as she whispered through tears, "I'm sorry, Mom. I'm so sorry." I closed my eyes, my own tears falling silently. "Shh, it's okay," I said softly. "You're home now." For the next few minutes, we stood there. No explanations, no questions, just the sound of two hearts finding each other again. When we finally sat down, she looked around my small apartment. Her eyes filled with guilt. "You live here?" she asked quietly. I smiled gently. "It's peaceful here. I have everything I need." She shook her head, tears in her eyes. "Everything you need, Mom? You deserve so much more. You should have been with me. I should have taken care of you." I reached out and held her hand. "You did take care of me once, when you were 7 and I couldn't stop crying after your father died. Remember what you told me?" She nodded slowly, wiping her eyes. "I said, strong people cry too." I smiled. "Yes, you see? You've always taken care of me, Aisha." Her lips trembled. "But I hurt you. I forgot who I was. I forgot you." I took a deep breath and said softly, "Sometimes life teaches us through pain, but the lesson only matters if we're willing to listen." That night we sat together for hours, talking for the first time in years. She told me everything. How her company had collapsed after one of her partners betrayed her, how her bank accounts were frozen, how she'd lost everything she built. "It's all gone, Mom," she said, staring at her hands. $33 million, just gone. I thought I was smart. I thought I didn't need anyone. But when everything disappeared, I realized I had no one left to call. Her voice cracked. I looked at my contact list and there was no one. No real friend, no family. Just you, the one person I'd pushed away. I listened quietly, my heart breaking with every word. When she finished, I said gently, "Money comes and goes, Beta, but people, once they go, they take a piece of your soul with them. I'm just glad you came before that piece was gone forever." She lowered her head, tears falling again. "I don't deserve your kindness." I smiled. "You don't have to earn a mother's love. It's not a salary, it's a heartbeat." Over the next few days, she stayed with me. At first, she barely spoke. She spent hours sitting by the window, staring at the street below, the same street I used to watch every morning. Sometimes I'd bring her tea and quietly sit beside her. She'd whisper, "I don't know who I am anymore." And I'd reply, "You're my daughter. That's more than enough." Slowly, she began to heal. She started helping me around the house, cooking, cleaning, even visiting the market with me. People stared sometimes, recognizing her face from the news, but she didn't hide anymore. One day, at the tea stall downstairs, a man whispered loudly, "Isn't that Aisha Malik, the millionaire who lost everything?" I looked at him and said gently, "She didn't lose everything. She found something she'd forgotten." Aisha smiled at me then, the first genuine smile I'd seen in years. One evening, as the sun was setting, she asked, "Mom, do you hate me for what I did?" I looked at her for a moment before answering. "Hate you? No, but I did miss you. Every day. Some nights I'd wake up and wonder if you were eating well, if you were happy. But hate, that word doesn't exist between a mother and a child." She lowered her head, her voice trembling. I told people you were just family, not my mother. I was ashamed of where I came from. I reached for her hand. You were never ashamed of me, Aisha. You were scared of being small again. You thought love made you weak. She nodded slowly. Yes, that's exactly how it felt. Like I couldn't be strong and soft at the same time. I smiled sadly. Strength without love is just emptiness, Beta. You can build empires with it, but you can't build a home. Later that night, she found my old recipe book on the shelf. Her fingers traced the faded handwriting on the cover. Mom's pancakes. The secret ingredient is love. She laughed softly through her tears. You still kept this? I nodded. Of course! It's the only thing you ever wrote that still smells like happiness. She opened it and stared at the messy, childish letters. Then she looked at me and said quietly, Can we make them tomorrow? I smiled. Of course we can. The next morning, the air was filled with the familiar smell of butter and sugar. She flipped the pancakes carefully, laughing when one stuck to the pan. I watched her, my heart full, not because she was back, but because I saw my child again. Not the businesswoman, not the millionaire, just my Aisha. After breakfast, she said, Mom, I want to tell my story, the real one, not the version on TV, the one where you're the reason I even made it that far. I nodded slowly. If you're ready? She looked determined. I am. I don't care what people think anymore. They need to know I didn't build my empire alone. I had a mother who gave me her dreams when she had none left of her own. Tears filled my eyes. Then tell them, Beta. Not for me, but for the girl who used to believe that love was her secret ingredient. A few weeks later, Aisha wrote an article for a business magazine titled, The Woman I Tried to Erase. In it, she spoke openly about her mistakes, her pride, her loneliness, and her rediscovery of family. The article went viral overnight. People praised her honesty. Some criticized her downfall. But she didn't care. She looked at me and said, Mom, for the first time, I feel free. One afternoon, she got a call from a charity organization that wanted her to speak about resilience and forgiveness. She hesitated. Do you think I should? I smiled. If your story helps even one person remember their mother, then yes. At the event, she stood on stage, nervous but brave. Her speech was simple. No grand gestures, no business talk, just truth. She ended with these words. When I lost $33 million, I thought my life was over. But I realized the real loss had happened long before that, when I turned my back on the woman who loved me when I had nothing. I thought success was about being independent, but it's not. Success is knowing where you come from and who will still open the door for you when the world closes every other one. There was not a single dry eye in the room. When she walked off the stage, she came straight to me and hugged me in front of everyone. For the first time, she said it publicly, loud and clear. This is my mother, my strength, my home. That night, back in our little apartment, we sat by the window again, this time side by side, our hands clasped together. The street below was quiet. The stars looked brighter somehow. Mom, she whispered, I don't know what the future holds. I don't even know if I can rebuild everything I lost. I smiled and said, maybe you don't need to rebuild it. Maybe it's time to build something new, not with money, but with peace. She nodded, resting her head on my shoulder. I'll try, she said softly. And I whispered back, that's all you ever needed to do, my love. Just try. That was the night I realized something. It wasn't her fortune that defined her story. It was her fall that gave her heart back its shape. Sometimes life has to break us, not to destroy us, but to remind us who we were before the noise began. And as I looked at my daughter sleeping peacefully next to me, I knew the storm had passed, and in its silence, we'd found our way home again.
Months passed quietly after Aisha came back home. The chaos, the noise, the pressure, all of it seemed to dissolve into the stillness of our little apartment. Gone were the constant phone calls, the flashing cameras, and the people who once hovered around her for a share of her success. Now her mornings began with the aroma of chai, and her nights ended with our soft laughter over the sound of the ceiling fan. For the first time in years, we were not running. We were simply living. Aisha found a small job at a local women's shelter. It wasn't glamorous, and it didn't pay much, but it gave her something money couldn't: peace. Every day, she worked with women who had faced abandonment, betrayal, and loss. She listened to their stories, guided them, and reminded them that no wound is too deep to heal. One evening, I saw her sitting on the floor surrounded by a group of women, teaching them basic business skills. She was explaining profit and saving, but what really shone in her voice was empathy. After the session, she came home and said, "Mom, they remind me of you, strong, quiet, and always giving more than they have." I smiled. "Then you're finally seeing what strength really looks like." One afternoon, while we were cooking together, she said, "I got invited to speak again next month, this time at a women's conference. But I don't want to talk about my loss anymore. I want to talk about what came after." I stirred the pot and smiled. "Then talk about rebirth, because that's what this is." She nodded. Yes, rebirth. The night before her speech, she sat by the window, the same window where she once cried silently for hours. This time, her eyes were calm. She said softly, "Mom, I used to think success was about being admired. Now I think it's about being understood." I looked at her and said, "Admiration fades. Understanding stays. It's what connects hearts." She smiled. "You always know the right words." I laughed gently. "Mothers don't always have the right words. We just have the right heart." At the conference, Aisha stood in front of hundreds of women. But unlike her old speeches, there was no glamour, no fancy suit, no rehearsed lines. She spoke like a woman who had walked through fire and learned how to glow instead of burn. Once, I had everything money could buy, but I had nothing my soul could feel. I lost millions, yes, but what I gained was priceless. I found forgiveness, peace, and the woman who gave me life twice, once when she bore me, and again when she forgave me. The audience rose in applause, not because of her story, but because they felt it. When she came down from the stage, I was waiting for her near the door. She ran into my arms like she had when she was little, whispering, "I did it, Mom." And I said softly, "No, Beta, we did." A few weeks later, Aisha started a small organization called Second Chance. It helped women start micro-businesses, rebuild their lives, and find courage after failure. She registered it not under her name, but under mine. When I asked her why, she said, "Because everything I am today began with you." Tears welled in my eyes. I had no words, only pride. Life moved forward slowly, peacefully. Our home was filled again with laughter, aroma, and the little chaos that comes with joy. Sometimes I'd wake up early just to watch her working on her laptop, focused, calm, smiling. It reminded me of the little girl who used to pretend to be a teacher, lining up her dolls in front of a chalkboard. The difference was, now she wasn't pretending. She was teaching again, but this time, life was her classroom. One rainy evening, as we sipped tea by the window, she said, "Mom, do you ever wish things had gone differently?" I thought for a moment before replying, "No, because if they had, maybe we'd still be apart. Maybe you'd still be lost in a world that never really saw you." She looked at me thoughtfully. "So, maybe losing everything was the only way I could find myself?" I nodded. Exactly. Sometimes God takes away everything, not to punish us, but to make room for what really matters.
Weeks turned into months, and the world slowly started to notice Aisha again, not as a millionaire, but as a woman of strength. She was invited to talk on radio shows and podcasts. People called her the woman who came back. But whenever someone praised her resilience, she always smiled and said, "I didn't come back alone. My mother held the door open." Every time she said that, my heart swelled with quiet joy. One morning, she brought home a small wooden box. She placed it on the table and said, "This is for you." Inside was a simple gold chain, not new, but beautifully restored. I recognized it immediately. It was the one her father had given me when she was born. I gasped, "Where did you find this?" She smiled. "I had it cleaned and repaired. I wanted to return something I once took for granted." Tears filled my eyes as I touched the pendant. It wasn't just jewelry. It was memory, forgiveness, and love, all wrapped in gold. That night, before sleeping, she said, "Mom, I want to move us to a better house. You deserve comfort now." I smiled. "I already have comfort. It's sitting right here beside me." She laughed softly. "You'll never change, will you?" I replied, "If changing means loving you less, then no." Months later, I fell sick. Just a mild fever, nothing serious, but Aisha panicked like a child again. She made soup, checked my temperature every hour, and refused to sleep until I felt better. At one point, I teased her, "Look at you. The woman who ran a multi-million-dollar company is now taking care of her old mother with a thermometer." She laughed, but her eyes filled with tears. "This time, I'm investing in something that never loses value," she said softly. And I smiled, realizing how far we had both come. Years later, when people asked about Aisha's comeback, I always told them the same thing. She didn't rebuild her business. She rebuilt her heart. And that, to me, was far greater wealth. One quiet morning, as the sun spilled through our window, I watched her preparing breakfast. She hummed a soft tune, the same lullaby I used to sing when she was a baby. When she noticed me watching, she laughed. "What? Why are you smiling like that?" I said, "Because I'm looking at my greatest creation." She walked over, hugged me tightly, and whispered, "You didn't just create me, Mom. You saved me." And in that moment, I realized we had both been saved. Not by money, not by success, but by the one thing that never runs out: a mother's love. She lost $33 million and gained something worth more: her mother's forgiveness. Sometimes life has to break us apart so love can bring us back together. Years have passed since that phone call, the one that brought my daughter back into my arms and changed both our lives forever. Sometimes I still think about that night, how her voice trembled, how my heart, despite all the pain, didn't hesitate for even a second, because that's what love does. It remembers only the bond, not the betrayal. Today, when I look at her, I don't see the millionaire who lost her fortune. I see the little girl who once brought me wildflowers from the garden and whispered, "These are for you, Mom." I see the child who used to fall asleep holding my hand. Fame, money, success, they had turned her world upside down. But deep inside, the same heart was still there. It just needed time to remember where home really was. We live a quiet life now. Our home is small, but filled with peace. Every morning, she makes tea just the way I like it, with cardamom and a little too much sugar. And every evening, we sit on the balcony watching the sun disappear behind the city skyline, our hands resting near each other's, not needing words to feel connected. Sometimes she'll say, "Mom, I wish I could undo all the pain I caused you." And I always tell her, "You don't need to. You came back. That's all that matters." You see, forgiveness isn't about forgetting what happened. It's about choosing to love someone despite the cracks. It's about realizing that family isn't perfect. It's patient. It waits quietly, even when it's been hurt, believing that one day the lost will find their way home again. Aisha's organization, Second Chance, has grown beyond what we imagined. Hundreds of women have rebuilt their lives through it. Some of them call her Aisha Ma'am, but many call her Sister. She tells me often, "Mom, I feel like I'm finally living with purpose." And I say, "That's because you're finally giving back what life once gave you, a second chance." On her birthday this year, she surprised me. She said she wanted to record a short video, a message to share online. I didn't know what she planned until I heard her voice through the camera. I once thought money made me powerful, but it made me blind. I lost the only person who ever loved me without asking for anything in return. When I called her after losing everything, I thought she'd turn me away, but she didn't. She opened her door and her heart like she always had. This is for every daughter and every mother out there. Don't wait for life to humble you before you say, "I'm sorry." Say it now. Love her now. When she finished, she turned to me and smiled shyly, as if she were still that little girl who needed approval. I couldn't hold back my tears. I hugged her tightly and whispered, "I love you, Aisha." That video went viral, not because it was dramatic, but because it was true. People from around the world commented things like, "I called my mom today after years. I'm crying. This story healed something in me." And money fades, but a mother's heart doesn't. And every time I read those comments, I realize something. Our pain, when shared with honesty, can become someone else's healing. Now, every night before I sleep, I thank God for the second chance He gave both of us, not just to rebuild a relationship, but to rediscover what unconditional love really means. Sometimes Aisha still asks me, "Mom, do you ever wish I hadn't become rich? Maybe then none of this would have happened." I smile and say, "No, my child, because sometimes we have to get lost in order to understand the way home." She always looks at me quietly, her eyes soft, her hand resting on mine, and in that silence, I hear everything I ever needed to hear. My daughter became a millionaire and erased me. But when life stripped everything away, she found what she'd been missing all along. Not wealth, not fame, but love. The kind that waits, forgives, and never runs out. If you have someone you've hurt, go back. If you've been waiting for someone to come home, keep your door open. Because sometimes the greatest miracles start with a simple call and a mother's voice saying, "Come home, my child."